Welcome back to Can She Craft It? This is week 4 of my Tinkerbell build. If you missed weeks 1 through 3, click on the link right now and get all caught up. So for these Tinkerbell wings, you're going to need a wing template. This is the actual wing that Tinkerbell has. This is the design. So I basically found a design, I blew it up and connected all of the papers with tape. You can create whatever design you want, but this is the Tinkerbell design. So you're going to use some craft wire. I believe this is 18 or 20 gauge. I'll put that in the description below. And it's super flexible. You're going to want to start this off by leaving about 1.5 to 2 inches of wire at the starting point. And then what I'm doing is I'm taping down the wire as well as the template using washi tape. You could also use masking tape. You want a tape that is easily removable so you can reposition it as you go. There's a lot of repositioning for this build. So all I'm doing is I am going to do the outline of the wing to start, and so I am just bending that wire to match the template. It doesn't have to be exact, it's never going to be exact when it's handmade, so I'm just bending it here, and at this point I'm going to use these needle nose pliers to really pinch it off, and I'm going to just complete the outline for the entire wing. When I get to the starting point again, I'm going to wrap the wire around the starting point, and then I'm going to circle back around to do that lower half of the wing. Now that the outline is complete, I'm just tightening up that joint that's right there where I wrap the wire, and I'm going to remove the washi tape now on the outline. I'm going to keep the template still taped down, and I'm just keeping that tape to the side so that I can use it again later on. You need to be able to position and move the wire because we're actually going to be gluing all of the detail elements down. Originally, I tried to wrap the wire around to create all of these detail, what I'm going to call like the veining or the skeleton of the wing, and it just was bulky. It didn't lay right, so I went ahead and I just decided to use hot glue to do this. So here's an up close shot of what I'm going to do, and I'm literally going to do this for the entire wing. So I'm just making that point a little bit more precise. And now I'm going to cut a piece of wire to this template design, and I'm just going to connect it by using a dab of hot glue at each of the joints. You're going to want to do this on the front and back of the wire so that it has some sturdiness, and you don't have to worry about it being super beautiful right now because we're going to coat the entire wire in hot glue later on. So we're just putting it on the joints. You definitely need some either heat protectant gloves like I'm wearing here, or you want to use some silicone finger protectors. I actually prefer the finger protectors because you have more flexibility with your hands that way. So this is all I'm doing. You don't have to worry about stringiness. You don't have to worry about it being super bulky at the joints. I'll show you how to fix that a little bit later. So we're just going to go around the entire template doing this method where I just clip the wire, and then I'm going to glue down the joints, and you just basically want to lay the wing on the template as you go. Again, it's not going to be 100% precise. This is not a 3D printer or a laser cutter. This is a handmade piece of art. So don't really worry too much if it's not exactly exact. What you see me using right there is actually a rocket air gun. It's for photography, for cleaning your lenses, but I'm using it to basically puff air onto the hot glue to kind of cool it down faster. You could probably also use like freeze spray that you use to like clean your computer keyboard with. That's probably more expensive. This was just something I had lying around. You don't have to do that step. It just kind of helps me handle it faster. So here you can see I've switched to my finger protectors, and these are my old finger protectors. I linked my new ones in my video last week, so you can click the link on the screen right now, and that will take you back to last week's video so you can see those silicone protectors. But basically, again, I'm just going piece by piece and connecting all of this. I decided to kind of work in zones, so I did the very tip of the wing, the middle section, and then the bottom piece of the wing, and that seemed to flow the easiest, and it was, you know, easier to kind of like think in sections. So you see that I'm putting the glue on the back half and then relining it up and moving on to the next piece. So I'm moving on to the middle section. I've already completed that top portion that you just saw, but I wanted to include this. I normally wouldn't include this much footage of the same method, but I really wanted to show you how I wrapped this spiral that goes down the middle of the wing. So basically I'm connecting it with a joint. For this piece of wire, I did decide to connect it by wrapping the wire to the starting point here, just to give it extra strength. Now this step, I actually clipped the wire. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd kept it one solid piece. So don't clip it right there. You're just gonna keep wrapping it around into this spiral. So I'm gonna start it again right in that same spot where I just clipped it. That's kind of the moment that I realized I shouldn't have clipped it. So I'm going to start in that same spot, put some glue, and I'm just going to work it around into this spiral, and that is going to really help me finish the structure of this middle section of the wing. If you don't start with a spiral, you don't have anything to connect all of those little arches to, so you really need to do this first. You don't want to tape down the wing. I know you can see right there, looks like it would be much easier to just tape it down, but because you have to lift up the wire and glue the other side, you do have to be taking the tape off constantly. You can do that. The other issue is when you're gluing it, you don't want the glue to combine with the paper. You might be able to do this with like wax paper, like put the wing template down, put wax paper on top of the template so you can see through, and then you could glue directly and maybe it would just not stick to the wax paper. That's definitely an option, but I don't think it's super necessary. It probably would just end up causing more fuss having an extra element in there. So after I did the spiral, I'm starting to do these longer veining skeleton pieces down at the bottom here that will then connect to the spiral, and then I can start doing the arches of the spiral. So now I have all of the wiring complete, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer of hot glue on both sides, connecting and encasing the wire in hot glue. This is going to create more stability for this frame, but also keep it lightweight. One of the things about these wings is I wanted them to be super lightweight because I'm going to motorize them. There's a big surprise this week, and that is I will now be on Patreon, and some of my videos, if you are a paid patron, you will be able to get exclusive content, and one of those videos is going to be how to motorize your fairy wings, which is super cool, and it's not as difficult as you would think. But yes, so if you want to find out how I motorize these wings, then subscribe to my Patreon account, and that video will be coming out next week on October 31st in time for Halloween. So this is what it looks like with the glue on both sides, and this is the step that I said you don't have to worry about it looking so nice. So all I'm doing is I'm using the tip of the hot glue gun to just melt down all of those strings and to make a more smooth surface. So the hot glue gun is still plugged in, and I'm just running it lightly across the surface of the hot glue. You can see it just instantly melts those strings. So now that that is complete, it's time to light these up. This costume is fully illuminated. I went to the WeHo Carnival last year and I saw this, I believe she was Glinda from The Wizard of Oz, and it was a fully illuminated costume, and I told Dave I want to do an illuminated costume next year. So that is kind of how I decided on Tinkerbell. I've always wanted to do kind of a Disney cosplay, and who doesn't love being a fairy? So that's how we kind of got here this year. So this is a fully illuminated costume, and the wings are absolutely illuminated as well. So this is some micro fairy lights, and I believe the footage on this is about, I want to say 16 feet. Again, I will link all of that below in the description, and it will be the accurate information and the links from Amazon where I purchased these lights. And so I wrapped this all the way around the basically the outline of the wing, and then I'm going to go and kind of work it back up to the top of the wing. But I decided I needed more lights, so I did add 2 additional 3-foot micro fairy lights that you'll see me add later on. So there's actually 3 bundles of lights. So you could actually do a second larger light if you wanted to, like the longer one, the 16-foot one, but you don't have to. Now the method that I'm doing is I'm actually wrapping the lights onto my wing frame. I don't think I would do it like this again. Originally I thought, oh, well, this way if I ever needed to like replace the lights or take them off for any reason, they won't be melted into the glue. Well, in the next step you use a heat gun, and so they do end up getting melted into the glue. So I would probably just glue these on, and then you don't have to deal with what I'm dealing with on screen, which is the tangle of lights going through these very little delicate areas. So I would probably just glue it, but glue it in a way where you can see the lights from both sides of the structure. So on like the outside edge, don't glue it on like directly on top or directly on bottom to where it's gonna block the light. Another thing to remember is if you don't wrap the lights around the framing, instead you glue them, you're going to have more length left over, so you might not need to add a bunch of extra lights. You might only need 1 extra light pack. Here are the mini ones that I put on, the additional ones. These are 3 feet long. I did prefer these. They seemed brighter because the lights were spaced closer together, and the battery packs are these small button batteries. The other ones were, I believe, 4 AA's. Here's what the finished lights look like. And Lights out. Now it's time to start the cellophane. So as you can see, there's cellophane on this right now. So what happened was I tried this about 4 different times and made a huge mess. So I'm going to tell you how to do it the way that you should do it and you don't have to make a mess. So basically I tried to encase it with cellophane on each side and it just didn't work. You couldn't see the detail as much, it didn't stick right. So I'm basically just cut off the cellophane and now I'm melting it down. The other thing I'm going to tell you is you must be careful with your heat gun on this step because you can melt the hot glue. So all I'm going to tell you to do is on one side of the wing, you don't have to do this on both sides, you're going to apply glue. I would do a spray adhesive. I ran out, so I'm just using a glue stick. So you can use a glue stick if you want. And I'm just going to layer on one sheet of the iridescent cellophane. And you're going to do this the top part of the wing and then the bottom part. You don't want to do them together. So then I'm going to roughly cut it out with an X-Acto knife. And then I'm going to heat this with the heat gun on low. Do not do it on high. In fact, I would probably use a hair dryer. I wouldn't use a heat gun again. The heat gun caused a lot of melting issues and it was a big headache. So I'd probably do this with a hair dryer. Now I'm going to cut out all of the little cells of cellophane, and I'm going to do this because I just want cellophane on the skeletal structure of the wing, because I came up with like kind of a technique where I'm going to put what I'm calling a cellophane fabric on the back of the wing, and it's going to shine through. So you're going to get all that detail of the wing that you just spent a lot of time doing, and you'll still get this really beautiful kind of cellular look to the wing. So you're just going to cut out all of that cellophane, and now you're going to hit it again with your hair dryer or heat gun on low. And next you're going to see me make like little cuts at the edges. That's just so that that cellophane can really wrap. I did a very rough cut when I was doing this, so that's all I'm doing there with the X-Acto knife. So I'm just kind of making like little cuts at the corners so that when I hit it with the heat gun, it can actually melt around the framing. So I'm just doing that on the front side of the wing, and then I'll do it on the bottom half as well. So this is what the difference looks like between the correct cellophane and the melted stuff that I did earlier. So now you're going to create this cellophane fabric. You're going to lay out 3 layers of cellophane, and then you're going to put newspaper on top and iron it with a steam iron on high. You want to make sure you only iron it with newspaper. If it touches the cellophane, it will melt. Once you've created this transparent fabric, it actually is a lot more sturdy than just single cellophane. Now on the back of the wing, not the side that you just did the cellophane heat gun on, you're going to now glue this fabric onto that wing. So you're going to use either spray adhesive or you can use a glue stick. It's up to you. And we're just going to coat it with that. We're going to lay it on top, and then to apply this cellophane fabric, we're going to again put newspaper down and iron it on high with the steam iron. Now remember, this is on the back of the wing, not the part that we just put beautiful cellophane work on. So you're going to iron this out. You want to really make sure you get the edges. Now I'm going to start to cut out the wing. Make sure you're careful with your X-Acto knife, as always. You should only be doing this with a parent, supervised if you are too young to be using an X-Acto knife. And then if you are old enough to use one, just be careful. We need our fingers to be crafters. So now I'm just going to go and hit it again with the iron so I can really get around those edges. Something I forgot to mention earlier, when you are ironing your cellophane fabric, you want to put down a towel so it gives you a cool texture. So I'm just cleaning up the edges here, getting rid of the excess. And this is what it looks like. I absolutely love the finished look. It really looks like a butterfly wing with a translucent appearance, the texture, it gives it that kind of cellular look. So to finish the back of the wing, I'm going to apply some fabric puff paint. This is iridescent fabric puff paint, just so it accents all that wire work that's on the other side that's very visible. One thing I found out about puff paint while doing this is you can actually puff up your paint more. After it has dried, you can take a steam iron, hold it about 4 inches away from the puff paint on the steam setting, and it will actually help puff your paint. I did not know this was a thing. If you want to try it with this, just be careful of the cellophane because it could melt. So you might want to try it on a spare piece of cellophane before attempting it. I did not attempt it because I just didn't want to mess up my wings after I had just got them done. So that is the final look. And here are the wings in action. You'll see that they're held on by clips in this picture because I'm still working on the motor. I hope you join me next week for the motorized video. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like and subscribe.